Hello and welcome to a special edition of Light 'em Up Lounge, a special edition of people getting together, smoking cigars with a wonderful cause and a very special project behind it. Today, I am honored and I'm delighted to welcome Joshua Habursky and Luciano Meirelles together with me here at the Light 'em Up Lounge, together with all of you watching, to discuss the El Politico project that is most certainly very close to the heart of these two gentlemen, but it has also become very close to my heart. Thus, I'm really grateful that we get to discuss the ins and outs, how this project came to life, what's behind it. And without further ado, Joshua, I would love to hand the word over to you to, first of all, give us a little bit of your background story. Tell us what your current role with the Premium Cigar Association is, and then how the project El Politico came to life. So thank you so much for being here with us. And Josh, over to you.
Thank you, Reinhard. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. This is our first interview about the project itself, and we couldn't think of a better interviewer to discuss this project because we know that advocacy in Europe, cigar rights of the world, cigar rights of Europe is very near and dear to your heart. I work for the Premium Cigar Association as our chief lobbyist and head of government affairs. So advocacy and lobbying here in Washington, D.C. Is something that is, my day job. I've been representing PCA in the premium cigar industry for 2.5 years now. And it's been something that has really been an eye-opening experience. I am always wanting to learn, and I've been fortunate enough to have a friend and mentor in Luciano. This past January, I visited him at his house in Nicaragua, toured his factory, learned a lot about the process, and am still learning. But that's kind of where El Politico originated. We had talked about, we did an event here in DC supporting PCA in October, and I was kicking around the idea, I'd love to do a cigar. The impetus for it was, everybody has kind of their claim to fame, their calling card in DC. And I've slowly become the cigar guy and didn't really want to have a business card to give folks. I wanted to have a cigar that, was emblematic of my personality, my taste profile, and in my career. And that's kind of how that originated.
Well, I certainly couldn't think of a more suitable and more delicious business card than the one that we all have in hand here. And you mentioned how you and Luciano, you got together for this project. But first of all, Luciano, I would love for you, we actually did a Light 'em Up Lounge together where we shared such an inspired and wonderful conversation. But I would love for you to tell all our viewers just a little bit about the background of Pichardo, of everything that you do, of how this project came to life from your perspective, and just so that people get to know you a little better. And
of course, my pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Josh. Just like Josh explained, we had this amazing experience. Josh came over this year to visit our farms and factory, and we had a blast. We had a very good time, and I really enjoy when we have visits of like Josh, but mostly when they are friends. So Josh is a very good friend, and it was easy to host him. I think that, I don't know if Josh agrees with me, but I believe that this blend came out extremely organic. So Josh was able to describe really well what he was looking for in terms of taste profile, which we kind of actually are always on the same page when it comes to taste profiles. I like kind of what he likes, and he likes kind of I like, I believe. So we went back and forth, but actually was quite interesting because I imagined, just by conversations we had a couple of days before Josh got to Nicaragua, I imagined something that I believe he would like. And I remember telling him, like, I'm going to give you several things to try, new things that we're gonna do now, that we're gonna bunch now. But I actually have one recipe that I already worked on. I want you to try, which ended up becoming the El Politico. I think it was a lot about understanding, Josh's taste profile, and it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. We spent a few days in the office, just kind of going back and forth with blends, and El Politico was born.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I mean, it was an eye-opening experience getting to see all of the process come together. And, Luciano hit a home run on the first swing with the blend itself after those conversations. And the only thing that we worked on was the sizing. We changed it to a Churchill to be a presentation cigar. And we wanted to make it so that, if there's somebody that smokes a cigar one time a month or one time a year, it wouldn't be too strong for them to enjoy. I prefer dark Nicaraguan cigars that have a punch to it. And it still has that, but it's still also, somebody that's a novice or a new cigar enthusiast can try it and they're not going to feel uneasy about it.
Now,
Yeah.
I just look at the whole thing from a bit more of a meta perspective. What I love about the project and everything behind it, but most certainly what I love about us three coming together here today is we're spread out all over the world. I'm currently sitting in beautiful summery Vienna over here in Austria. Joshua, you're at the office of PCA, and Luciano, your background all by itself is a cosmopolitan background at the very best. But you currently actually not at the factory, but you're over in Europe as well, from what I understand.
I'm in Spain. I'm in Priorat, in Spain, Catalonia.
Drinking
So
local wines.
if the Catalonians hear me saying I'm in Spain, they freak out because they want the independence. So they think, no, you're not in Spain, you're in Catalonia. But I'm in the mountains of Priorat here by a friend of mine, winery. And we also discussing, future projects together. There's some interesting things that we were talking about. Yeah, I'm blessed to have this beautiful background here.
It's a stunning view. And I can only imagine that the very same is true when you're in the fields, when you're at the factory overlooking the tobacco leaves and the plants that ultimately become El Politico. And that's what I would love to discover a little further together with you. ACE Prime has truly gained momentum and has become probably one of the hottest brands, I feel, in the cigar industry. You recently teamed up with Crowned Heads, which is just a symbiosis that seems to be made in heaven. But you work diligently, I dare say, behind the scenes of the cigar industry, work in the factory, which is probably slightly different to what most other brand owners, quote unquote, manufacturers do when they actually probably have their cigars manufactured by somebody else at the beginning. Give us a little bit of the background of Tabacalera Pichardo, how you met Pichardo himself and ACE Prime, and how you see the evolution of the factory that ultimately then also led to the collaboration with Josh.
I think it's very easy to explain, and at the same time, I think you by what you know of us, you probably noticed this already. I believe I have a vocation to work behind the scenes, and I like that expression you used. We've been in this industry for 15 years, basically. It's going to be 15 years, 14 years. But we've been making cigars for other people for a long time. Some of the clients really well known. Some of our clients, one of the largest companies, larger brands that exist. Some of them we worked under NDA. So we always were behind the scenes making cigars for other people. When we decided to launch ACE Prime, I went through a process of almost 2 years talking to each one of our friends and people that not just made cigars for, but even people that we knew from the industry, because we bought tobacco, we sold tobacco to them. and ask them for their guidance and also somehow, quote unquote, their blessing. I want to make sure that some of our clients who didn't see us as competitors, but as friends. And it was interesting when we launched to see the amount of support we received from all the manufacturers and everybody. That's why I think our industry is so distinguished from any other industry, is that the level of friendship that we have amongst, the cigar makers. And you see this at the trade show. You see, all of them hanging out. You see how they appreciate each other. This is the only industry that people cannot survive alone. So we all depend on each other. We all need to get together to fight these fights about regulation. We also need to be together because we buy each other's tobacco. We trade tobacco. So it is a big family, But answering your question about our history, how I met Pichardo. Pichardo was introduced to me by Ernesto Carrillo, 13 years ago. I was in Dominica and something very impactful happened in my life that changed my life completely. I decided to simplify my life, stay closer to my family, and then I made a choice, to take a 1-year sabbatical and do things out of passion. And the cigar it's always been a passion. And Ernie has always been a good mentor and supporter for me. And he said, "Hey, there's this guy who worked for Habanos for his entire life. He's the guy who blended the Partiga Series D and E, but he wants to leave Cuba, because of the political regime there. There was not much opportunities for a guy who's working for basically for the government, and not being recognized or even having the opportunity to make money, whatever." So he decides to leave Cuba, and Ernie introduced us. We immediately connected. We opened the factory with 2 tables, and here we are, man. That's the short version.
Josh, what was it that inspired you and made you follow exactly that path and ultimately work with Luciano and his factory as to any of the other manufacturers that are out there?
I think of anybody in the industry, Luciano has the most humility, number one, but number two, he kind of took me under his wing right from the beginning. And I was like, I want to learn. I want to know soup to nuts, manufacturing. I want to know the process, bunching, rolling. I'm not going to be good at this. That's a very specific skill, but I want to see it firsthand. I want that sensory experience. And, the invitation to Nicaragua was just a piece of it. I mean, I've traveled, and Luciano and I have met in Chicago and Austin and other cities and just conversed, and in DC here. I think that the success of the brands and business, a lot of things kind of go to the back burner, but Luciano is a great advocate for this industry here in Washington as well, and working with us to make sure that people can enjoy any premium cigars in the United States and elsewhere. So, that friendship, that mentorship was something that happened really early on. And it also, it was great to work with somebody that would allow me to pursue my interests. So, in this, I worked on the band. That was one of the things, like the creative side. I used to work for a public affairs firm and, work with a designer. We have, on there, the Capitol Dome, the 3 stars there that are embossed represent the DC flag. I'm very proud to have been a decade in Washington, DC. And then on the inside, it says presented by Joshua Habursky. And that was, again, to serve that business card purpose. And now it's kind of amazing to see all over the country and all over the world. We had 2,000 cigars that we've been, giving to folks and in the industry at the trade show. and just saying, hey, what do you think of this? And now we're getting folks that tried them at the show. Hey, do you have any more of these? Where can we get them? So we're launching plans to be able to support PCA through sales of El Politico, to again support that advocacy mission that's behind this. But it's been incredible. One of my friends a couple of years ago gave me a Cuban cigar. I had not been, and again, I'm still prefer Nicaraguan cigars over anything, but gave me a Cuban cigar, and it was a KSA from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is a very good cigar. It's only a gift cigar that is given to other folks. You can't buy these. And so that was the initial thought for this, was you can't buy these. I actually gave this friend an El Politico, and he's going to be sending me a picture in Saudi Arabia smoking this, which again, it comes full circle, and you talk about the worldliness of premium cigars. But, I think that later this year, we're going to make it available to people so that they can support the association, they can support the advocacy and the defense of this great industry that we know and love and work in different ways. We contribute in Luciano, in his case, in so many different ways. And that mentorship is kind of translating, and I'm trying to work in it in different ways as well.
I think it's mesmerizing and fascinating how the humble cigar, tobacco leaves being rolled into a slender tall vitola, can have such a uniting momentum and effect on people, because we all come from different walks of life, from different backgrounds. Even though what I find always fascinating is how we all sort of share similar background stories, and Luciano, your inspiring story obviously is something that I can very much relate to. But then we meet over a cigar, and it's never just a cigar; it's an experience. And the cigar is
the medium. The cigar is the medium. Medium needs to be good too. It needs to be good. It would be terrible if I was sitting here in this amazing view and this amazing meal and having a bad wine, but I'm not here for the wine. I'm here for the conversations. I'm here for the relationships. I'm here to talk and learn about each other's story. So is with cigars. Cigars it's an amazing medium that kind of just somehow bonds people together. And I've always been fascinated by that. I think it's the same with meals, with wine, but cigars is like quick, right? So you just have to light it up.
And it is a glimpse into the heart and soul of the people behind it. Indeed, yes.
And I know one of our near and dear friends, Jose Blanco, I was on his program a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that cigars, a lot of it is about who you're smoking with and the experience and the moment. And over the course of your lifetime, you may have 20 to 30 capstones that are celebrated around a cigar that you'll never forget. And, fortunately, over the course of these 3 years, almost 3 years working in the industry, I've had a couple of those moments, one of which was smoking the test sample in Nicaragua with Luciano, surrounded by other folks in the industry that were giving us real-time feedback. And there was a language barrier there. I don't speak any Spanish, and but you understood one another that they're enjoying this. Again, and I'll never forget this other story, and I won't give all the details, but Luciano and I were in another city, and we were enjoying another prominent manufacturer's cigar. And basically, I saw Luciano take that cigar and one of his cigars and come up with a new rendition right there. Unwrapped them, used bottled water, rolled it, combined the different the different components of the cigar firsthand. And he's like, try this. And to me, that moment there, I could not have asked for a better person to work on something that, I consider this my signature, my calling card. So, those capstones, and I'm sure there's going to be more along the way as we enjoy cigars and hopefully the success of El Politico, but also the continued success of all the cigars that Luciano produces.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I have to confess, I've never asked this question any of the manufacturers, Luciano, and something that came to my mind now that we spoke about the experiences and those particular moments, those meaningful moments when we share a cigar like we do right now, and this all by itself will be a moment that I will never forget, to for the first time smoke El Politico together with you. How much of an experience, how much of these particular moments do you have in mind when you create the cigar, especially when and because it's something that has so much meaning to it and it has such a particular purpose and background story? I can only imagine it must be a delicate balance of giving the cigar the opportunity to evolve into whatever it wants to be and to create whichever situation it might create around the world with all those different peoples. But how much of it do you think you put into it when you create the blend, when you envision the Vitola and how the whole project and the whole cigar comes together?
The Vitola, you said? Yeah. I think all elements of the smoking experience are extremely important. And I do not detach myself from the experiencing of blending, or I do not detach the experience of blending from myself, from who I am as a person. Of course, we can get extremely deep here and say this is an expression of my soul and what I think. I want to simplify this. I think we human beings, we are holistic beings. We cannot imagine ourselves without each other. So we are social beings. We cannot imagine ourselves detached from reality. So we need to leave the reality. So when we make a cigar, we make a cigar to people, not to machines, not to numbers. So we make it to people. We know that people will put the cigar in their mouth and they're going to have an experience and they're going to think about your brand's going to think about you, especially if they know who blended. They think about what kind of job you did, or the roller, the buncher. So I think everything is very much holistic. What I am not deviating from your question, but I think is complementary to the question. My grandfather used to say that we have three images. Actually, Nietzsche used to say we have three images. My grandfather, because he was a religious minister, he adapted Nietzsche's version to his version, because Nietzsche was an atheist and my grandfather was a believer. So he said that we have three images: what we see of ourselves, what we think of ourselves, what other people see we are, and who we truly are. In my grandfather's version, what God knows we are. So we all have these three images. The more aligned these images are, the happier we become. So if what I think of myself is the same that you think of me and who I truly am, it's very obvious that you're going to live a life much lighter and much happier. So if I can make, and how I translate this or why I'm mentioning this story to you, because I believe that the cigars I make translates who I am. And then if you people, let's say I have a relationship with Josh, and tomorrow he finds out that I am an asshole, that I'm a different person than I really am, or that the cigars do not translate who I really am. I'm just kind of doing this because of, I don't know, just because I want money, because I want whatever, and not because of true passion. So I think human beings are very holistic, and the more we have these three images aligned, the more truthful we are, the better. And you and I talked about this in your other show. The world is so tired of lies and bullshit, and you know, people are craving the truth. People want to believe in something real, and I'm very proud to say that I'm what you get, man. You like it or not, you know. this is this is who I am. This is the cigars I make. These are my friends. This is what I enjoy. Uh, it's much easier to live that way too.
Joshua, how do you feel about that when you hear such words and when you think about the project in its entirety? Everything that you wanted to create with El Politico, and then what it ultimately became, and now that you see it in people's hands and showing up in people's Instagram feeds and on other social media channels, is that how you envisioned it all coming together? And what do you foresee for the future where El Politico could go and will go?
I have a lot of pride in the project itself, and just being a small part of it, and being able to work with Luciano's vision and have it really come together. I really see a lot of joy whenever somebody's smoking it, whenever somebody's asking for one, or seeing people post it organically. To me, it just provides satisfaction knowing that someone's enjoying something that I had a small hand in, small piece in. But working with Luciano, I think there's nothing but pride. I think that in anything that comes out of his factory, I got to meet a lot of the workers. I got to see the firsthand experience how this actually came together, and I know that all of them are taken care of. They're proud to work at the Pichardo ACE Prime factory, and I know that there's no issues with quality. We know that every El Politico is going to be good because I have confidence in everyone that I met there. Most importantly, I have confidence in Luciano that he wouldn't steer me in the wrong direction. And that's why, I said earlier in the interview, like truly from the beginning, there hasn't been somebody that has taken me under their wing to the extent that Luciano has from an instructional perspective. I mean, I asked hundreds of questions. I was in Nicaragua for 8 days, and I still will text him questions. And, he truly is the traveler. It's kind of like, where is he at this point? And I want to be respectful and also thank him for taking time out of his vacation to do this interview about El Politico. But, he is my friend, my mentor, and I just hope to see this project grow to the extent and see other people enjoy it, and continue to work with Luciano on all facets of premium cigars, whether it's with PCA on the advocacy front or with El Politico. We will always remain friends, and we'll have a lot of capstones along the way, including this project.
I must say that you using a lot of generous words, my friend, and this project is a blessing to you as it is for me as well. I'm truly honored, happy you enjoyed the cigar. I'm happy people are liking it. I'm happy that the project's moving further than we thought. Something that would be just you said, like a business card, is becoming a demanded cigar. I'm very excited about that and looking forward to the future. I think they're a great thing, and the fact that you put also not just your heart in this project, but also the whole idea of supporting and funding PCA. It shows how altruistic your heart is, and you know, I'm 100% on board. So
How is such a
very-
project and the process behind it different compared to other projects that you did, in particular when at the beginning you worked with brand owners and various different companies, but how is it different if somebody like Josh approaches you with a project like El Politico, for you to take that idea both from the holistic perspective that you mentioned, but also then from a more tangible sensory perspective as to what are the elements that you put in there to translate the idea into the actual smoke?
I think the short answer is our personalities. I think there's a little bit of our personalities in the cigar, and I try to translate that into the taste profile. But to be quite frank, we don't take any. We're not taking any project. We're not blending cigars. We're not taking any new company to blend cigars for. Fortunately, it's been a good time for us, for Crown Heads, for Ace Prime, for our alliance. But Josh was the exception that I decided to embrace it, because not just because of our friendship, but because I believe in the project. So we took a different route here, and I said, no, we're going to do it. We're going to manufacture, and again, then beyond excited about this project. I really think I don't want to even call it a project. I think it's a product, and it's a product that will probably inspire a lot of people, and I'm very happy because I believe there's a big potential for this blend.
Could you and would you like to disclose some more of the technical aspects to it? Josh mentioned.
Sure. I mean, I can.
Cola. Can you tell us a little bit about the tobaccos?
Yeah, it's a Toro. It's a 6x52. We'll start from outside to inside. I think the only tobacco that we do not grow on this cigar is the wrapper. So the wrapper is a Mexican San Andres. Very unique process of fermentation. That wrapper. It's a wrapper that we bought a few years ago raw, and we processed ourselves. The processing of that specific leaf is just amazing, and everything else is it's grown by us. You know, we have Jalapa, have a lot of Pueblo Nuevo, which is a tobacco that we've been working a lot with, and in very kind of unique proportions to the specific taste profile. I'm laughing because I gotta say this, because we gotta be honest always. That's my motto. I always say everything. So I asked Josh. I said, Josh, what is the taste profile you like the most? And he told me the name of a manufacturer. And he said, I like this cigar from this guy. And so I'm not gonna tell who the manufacturer is, but I'll tell you that that's also, I'm not gonna hide the fact that there was an intrinsic challenge into producing a better version of what he likes. And I think we ended up achieving something different. It's not the same, but definitely since I'm not mentioning the name, I would say better.
Joshua, what I'm getting a lot from the cigar is finesse and elegance, and despite the tanginess, the spice, the character, some of that rich minerality that Nicaraguan tobaccos can give you, it has such a delicate element to it as well. How do you personally experience the cigar, and what are some of the nuances that you discover anew every time that you come back and light up another El Politico?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, every time I have one, I enjoy it. I am a frequent cigar enthusiast, so I will try. I want to have the perspective of trying a variety of different cigars, you know, from different countries, different manufacturers. And to me, this is something very unique. And, you know, there aren't too many things that I've smoked that are quite like this. Again, I think it strikes that balance of, you know, for enthusiasts. You know, I knew that this project, you know, once we would provide cigars to industry folks, like that's a heightened level of scrutiny that you put the cigar under. If I knew that the cigar media, shop owners, people that I interact with, PCA members, that if I was going to go to their shop and be bold enough to give them a cigar, it had to be good. It can have the greatest story. And I've heard other manufacturers say this, you can have the greatest story, but if your cigar is not good, there's a problem. And to me, like, that's the quintessential thing. This is about awareness of advocacy. It's about, individual personality, but it's also about a good cigar that can pass the muster. And I remember walking the trade show floor, giving this cigar to all the big names with confidence. Like, I wasn't going to shy away and say, well, you know what? I know that they love their cigars. Well, it's kind of like, in professional sports where you do a jersey swap. They give you take the picture with the other jersey in that. And to me, going up to your household names, your top manufacturers, they've given me cigars as thank you for the work, or sent them to our office here to enjoy. And again, I wanted to be able to reciprocate and do that. And, from the folks that had it, many of them, waited a little bit and smoked it after the show, got a lot of positive feedback. Some people enjoyed them right then and there. And, a few of them have said, hey, you have another one of those. I want to try it again. So, I think that was each time that I have it, knowing that we did a limited, very limited run, because this, was an out-of-pocket expense. We try to make sure that folks got it, and elected officials and staff that want to enjoy cigars, we have to be under there's gift rules, of course, with cigars. For events, we as the association are able to provide cigars as long as they're under a certain dollar amount threshold. So, we had to be cognizant of a lot of different elements coming into this project. So now I'm at the point where I want others to enjoy the cigar. So I'm infrequently. The first day I was, 4 or 5 El Politicos at once, beaming with pride, going to, Casa Fuente and having one of their cigars, and then also having one of my cigars, and, Monte Cristo and all the places in Las Vegas. That was literally the first time that I tried the cigar with the band, with the, new size, because we did have a smaller size in Nicaragua. But then, when we increased the size, I had some samples, very limited samples that I brought back. But that was the first time where all of the elements came together. But now I'm to the point where I want to see others enjoy El Politico, and I will, I'll hold off my own enjoyment.
Do you feel like the cigar has a global component to it, and sort of a global appeal, also by the way it smokes and what people will perceive out of it? Because you obviously mentioned your personal taste preference, but then again, you are reaching out with the PCA probably primarily to the American audience, but ultimately it is in all our best interest, and we will work on this together to consolidate the global cigar community, and in particular the efforts to unite all the endeavors and initiatives that are out there to support cigar lovers and continue the fight for our rights to enjoy handmade premium cigars.
I definitely think that there's a global component to this. I'll never forget it when I was on the trip with Luciano in Nicaragua. I met with the Nicaraguan Chamber of Tobacco and Claudio, who we spoke on the panel together at PCA. And they presented me a box of cigars, painted, different members of the Nicaraguan Chamber. And that, to me, is a collector's item. That's like that's the souvenir that, you know, I got from that trip that I will always remember. And I feel as though if folks, and we've been talking about doing more international discussions and conversations, if we convene folks here in Washington to talk about premium cigar policy, this is something that's a perfect token of my appreciation for people that came to visit, to come and interact, you know, with PCA, with myself. And it'll be one of those things that I will share with those folks. You know, we're talking about a global summit in October. You know, you bet that there will be, if I have any left, El Politicos to give to the folks that, you know, share that event. Again, that's kind of one of those capstone moments that folks will remember. You know, I don't envision, you know, and maybe I'm wrong, you know, that this will be an everyday cigar. I kind of want it to be a special occasion. You know, the DC side of it, you know, people should think about advocacy and the awareness when they smoke this cigar. So, you know, that's what I would like to see moving forward. But I do want consumers to have the ability to enjoy El Politico and get them to look at it, not only from the United States perspective, but from the global perspective, that advocacy is important, that, you know, these cigar rights are not indefinite. We have to be active participants in the defense and the promotion of the premium cigar industry as, you know, this artisanal craft background, and really do justice to what we enjoy. And all of us, I would say, are super enthusiasts, but we want to share that experience, that love for cigars with others. And to me, that this is a nice conversation and talking point or conversation piece in order to do that.
Besides your role with PCA, the El Politico project, if you think about the industry as a whole, what can we all do better? What do we all need to work on and fight for in order to make the cigar industry stronger, better, more united, and just make sure that we look into a bright future for handmade premium cigars?
I think, you know, there's a couple different things, you know, joining your association. If you're a retailer, PCA, you know, consumer, there's, you know, Cigar Rights of America, Cigar Rights of Europe, Cigar Rights of the World, you know, the various different entities that convene people together. I think what we're doing and having a dialogue and communication, best practices, you know, hey, this is something that you need to watch out for. We've noticed it here in the United States and vice versa. And, you know, although we are a great distance apart, you know, physically in terms of geography, you know, over the months of even preparing for PCA, and then when we were first introduced, you and I have had a great dialogue sharing, you know, insights and best practices. I think that's important. But when you go to a cigar lounge, whether it's in Austria or in the United States, you know, having a conversation with folks about the perils of the industry and some of the problems and some of the challenges that we face, how folks can get involved, how folks can defend the industry, and, you know, having those conversations. Whenever I go to a lounge, I identify my role in the industry and talk to people and ask them, you know, what are their concerns? Like when they are purchasing cigars, or selling cigars as a retailer, what are the pain points? How can we help? How can we solve some of these major issues that are facing the industry? So, you know, communication's key. There are ways that folks can get involved in the defense of the industry that is not just a monetary contribution. And I think that that's something that we need to emphasize, is that time and talent are keys to the preservation and the promotion and the sustainability of the premium cigar industry.
I so much appreciate everything that you said and the relationship and friendship that I'm honored to share with you. And El Politico is the perfect expression of what we talked about earlier, that a cigar is never just a cigar. It is an experience. It is a uniting element and something that brings us all together and gives us an opportunity to reflect on our own lives, on community, us being a global family, not just as cigar lovers, but in general as human beings. And with everything that you have put into El Politico, it is an opportunity for all of us to share that, experience it firsthand, and come together over this humble smoking experience and humble cigar and feel some of these elements that we discussed and that you put into this particular project.
And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity and Luciano the opportunity to tell this story, first and, share this experience with others. And I am a big fan of all of the communications channels and the cigar media and the work that you do in getting that story out there. And, I emphasize communication as being a key part of the success of the preservation of the industry and the success and advocacy. And this is a perfect example of that. So I'm very grateful for being able to tell this story.
Luciano Meirelles from ACE Prime and Tabacalera Pichardo, Joshua Habursky with the PCA and El Politico, thank you so much, both of you, for everything that you do for our industry, for us as cigar lovers, and for everything that you do with El Politico. I wish and I hope that everybody out there will at some point have the opportunity to smoke one of these fabulous cigars. It is an intriguing sensory experience. And in particular, when you share it with the right people and when you hear the story behind it, it just becomes something entirely different and something else. It becomes something holistic, as Luciano said earlier. So Josh, many, many thanks for everything that you do and for this wonderful conversation I was honored to share with you. Best of luck and success with El Politico, and especially the good causes behind it. And I'm very much looking forward to lighting up another one of these fabulous cigars or any other cigar together with you, wherever it might be around the world. So again, many thanks and
thank you.
Light them up.